In 1996, the UWI Chancellor's report on governance of the University of the West Indies placed considerable focus on the quality of teaching, the need to assign much greater weight than previously on competence in teaching in the process of assessment of faculty, and emphasized the importance of faculty being evaluated and promoted on the basis of a high standard of teaching performance, as well as their research and publications record. In the process of assessment of faculty for promotion, much greater weight than previously is now being placed on competence in teaching, and the assessment of faculty members by students is now an important variable in renewal of contract and promotion decisions. Also, students no longer sit and suffer silently when their classes are boring or do not facilitate their learning, when they consider their assessments are unfair, and when they do not think that the lecturer is assisting them in achieving the objectives stated. They complain, and these complaints have to be heard and investigated. The majority of the faculty members of the University of the West Indies, although well qualified in their chosen disciplines, approach the task of being university educators very often with very little preparation for this role. The response expected in the new teaching learning environment and in the preparation of today's graduate is a radical change from the environment in which many of us experienced our higher education, in the way in which we were probably taught, and even in the way which we have taught or are teaching. It is a change from the traditional and an emphasis on the importance of developing in learners skills of deep learning, of fostering higher order thinking and problem-solving skills, as well as the design of examinations which will test those skills. Addressing the need to provide an optimal teaching and learning environment has become a priority issue at UWI. The Centers for Excellence in Teaching and Learning have been established on each campus as a faculty resource, and they are required to ensure the design, review, and redesign of quality courses and programs underpinned by scholarship and research, to stimulate development of a commitment to teaching and the use of the most appropriate methodologies, to ensure that students are stimulated and encouraged to explore and experience deep learning, and the design of assessment which will reward deep rather than surface learning. The UWI Certificate in University Teaching and Learning, which has been introduced, is expected to be a critical factor in the improvement of teaching and learning in the academy. But what is this deep learning that we are seeking to foster? Jackie Lublin, in 2003, drawing on the research of renowned learning theorists such as Entwistle, Biggs, Martin, and Salho, defines deep learning and contrasts it with surface and strategic learning. Let's start with surface learning. Surface learners try to learn in order to repeat what they have learned, right? So they try to memorize information which they feel is needed for assessments. So when they cannot remember, they're at a total loss. So they make use of rote learning. They tend to take a very narrow view and concentrate on detail. They fail to distinguish principles from examples. They tend to stick very closely to the course requirements, and they are highly motivated by fear of failure. Well, those are the surface learners, and we have a lot of them because they feel that this is the only way to learn. You have to memorize, you have to remember everything. We also have a category of learners which Lublin calls strategic learners. The strategic learner is the person who intends to obtain a high grade, right? They go in, I have to get that A. They organize their time and distribute their effort to the greatest effect. In other words, they spot. They ensure that the conditions and materials for studying are appropriate. They know which book they're to get and which pages of the book they must read. Not the whole book. Don't bother about the whole book or the whole chapter. Just the specific part. They use previous exam papers to predict questions, and they are alert to cues about marking schemes. This is the person who will come to find out if you think that such and such and such might come on the exam. And then we have the deep learners. The deep learners actively seek to understand the material and the subject. They interact vigorously with the content. They are caught up with the content, with the material that they're learning. They make use of evidence, inquiry, and evaluation. This is the person who will read outside of the textbook and get other sources to see what other people are saying about these concepts that they're learning about. They take a very broad view and they relate ideas to one another. They are motivated by interest. They relate new ideas to previous knowledge. They relate concepts to everyday experiences, and they tend to read and study beyond course requirements. Now, we all want to have students who are deep learners, who are excited about their subjects, who seek to know more and more, whose involvement with the concepts make them independent learners and creative, critical thinkers. Our very high achievers are very often a combination of deep and strategic learners, because you can get deep learners who are so carried away with following their interests and the material that they forget to be strategic, and so they don't focus on the specific areas that they ought to. So how do we enhance teaching and foster deep learning? What constitutes deep learning in the academy today? Educators have been pondering this issue and asking questions which, as educators, we need to consider deeply. Tony Wagner, a Harvard educator, just a few months ago, said, "Today, because knowledge is available on every internet-connected device, what you know matters far less than what you can do with what you know. The capacity to innovate, the ability to solve problems creatively or bring new possibilities to life, and skills like critical thinking, communication, and collaboration are far more important than academic knowledge. As one executive told me, we can teach new hires the content, and we will have to, because it continues to change, but we can't teach them how to think, to ask the right questions, and to take initiative." Lawrence Summers, ex-Harvard president and World Bank president, asks, "Does the higher education curriculum need complete overhaul? What are the right models of teaching and learning now that the traditional lecture seems obsolete?" And another tack taken by David Levine of Ashoka's Start Empathy Project says, "What of emotional intelligence? Social and emotional learning is implemented best when it is part of a consciousness movement, one that creates a balanced, challenging, and ultimately life-changing learning community." L.D. Fink in 2001 proposed a taxonomy of higher-level learning, which I have found particularly useful. It consists of 6 categories, which are interactional, not at all hierarchical. The first one is foundational knowledge. And this is the question, when we're speaking about deep learning. First question, what are the key facts? What are the concepts? What are the formulae, the relationships that are important for students to understand and to remember? And this is what we want to find out, to lead to their deep understanding and meaningful learning. Then application. What kinds of thinking are important? What skills are necessary? What technological and other competencies need to be developed in order to encourage the creative thinking, the creativity, the problem solving, and the decision making? Integration. Do students recognize the important connections, the similarities, the interactions they should be making between the perspectives that they gain and others within the discipline, and also across disciplines? How does the lecturer facilitate that integration and making those connections? And we come now to the human dimension. What are students learning in their classrooms about themselves, about understanding others and interacting with others? Here we have now issues of ethics, of teamwork, of ability to adapt to change, of interpersonal communication skills. formation of character, service learning, citizenship, preservation of the environment, motivation. What changes should result in students as a result of their participation? That is, what feelings would I want to generate in those students? What opinions would I want them to form or want to help them to form? What interests, attitudes, and values about learning and life would I expect them to be forming as a result of my teaching? Learning how to learn. How does this course, how does the presentation of this course, my communication with the student, provide the impetus and the capability for long-term self-directed learning? How do I keep students asking questions? How do I get them to develop inquiry? How do I get them to go to another source to get more information because they have been so caught up in this concept which is part of the program? The change required in fostering deep learning demands lecturers who are constantly reflecting, and I hear that you have done work on reflective teaching. Reflecting on ways to be creative in designing and organizing material and in presenting it in a fashion which can facilitate learning and sustain the curiosity of learners. The lecturer's reflection leads to the careful preparation of teaching materials that will stimulate and motivate the development of independent learners and meet the needs of learners of different ability and achievement levels working together in the same lecture room. The reflective teacher will be concerned about the production of appropriate teaching materials to be delivered through the medium of computer software, the internet, video tapes, audio tapes, as well as print. Exploration of methodologies that will encourage cooperation and teamwork, stimulate the development of creativity and initiative, build motivation, and facilitate achievement will be a priority. And very important, as regrettably, we still tend to teach to the test. The change will also demand that the teacher consider new approaches to the methods of assessment of learning so that rote memorization is avoided and critical thinking, analysis, and evaluation of material are evaluated and rewarded. Defink's taxonomy does not focus solely on deep cognitive learning, however. Such learning is only one aspect of learning in the academy. Students also need to have access to faculty who are empathetic, who can provide academic advice and help, who can participate in development programs and co-curricular activities, and who are strong, desirable role models. This is all part of a facilitating environment in the promotion of affective, the social and emotional learning, as well as cognitive learning. Both aspects are vital to students' higher educational experience, their readiness for the world of work as employees or as entrepreneurs, and their all-round development. And the literature has incorporated this aspect of higher level learning as part of the responsibility of all university educators. The involvement of faculty members in activities to promote the all-round development of students is not only highly desirable, it is increasingly an expectation. So deep and broad learning, the challenges of building a learning community. A campus learning community is a concept presented by Ernest Boyer, who explains that such a community expands the teaching learning environment beyond the classroom and formally designed learning experiences, and includes all interactions and exchanges that occur within the institution. So from you hit the gate and the security guard hands you a card, this is a learning community. You're learning things about the institution. When the card is mashed up and dirty and you don't even want to touch it, you know that they need to be changed. A learning community demands that learners observe in the university at first hand best practice at every level so that the total learning experience of those who study, work, and interact with the community is one which is positive and worthwhile. Although faculty members are responsible for research, knowledge creation and dissemination, and have direct contact with learners within classroom settings where there is knowledge sharing, questioning, and generation of new ideas. Much valuable learning takes place outside of the classroom and emanates from interactions with fellow students, with administrators and administrative systems, as well as other contacts. This learning environment can only be developed through the involvement and commitment of both academic and administrative arms of the university to the values and understandings underpinning the production of the 21st century graduate. Thus, learners must see the university as a model of an organization running efficiently. They must observe and participate in good pedagogy. They must experience incidental learning in which opportunities are provided in informal settings for the learning of principles such as respect for others, which govern interpersonal interaction in their classrooms and in the offices, in the halls of residence, in the libraries, and other entities which comprise the institution. The broader environment is important in providing the context within which learning, deliberately targeted learning, as well as incidental learning takes place. Learners in the field of education are exposed to theoretical concepts such as the meaning of education, the hidden curriculum, the importance of trans-domain learning, the setting of objectives for both cognitive and affective domains. They are made aware of the extent to which all communications with students are value-laden, of the extent to which teachers send positive and negative messages to learners which serve as models and triggers of behavior and action. There are renewed cries for higher education to build character, to make serious interventions to halt the deterioration and decay in the social, political, and moral climate in today's world. UWI's current strategic plan, I'll just recap, calls for its graduates to be well-grounded in their regional identity, to be socially, culturally, and environmentally responsible, and to be guided by strong ethical values. All of this will require a learning community where there is a culture of student development in which academic learning, however deep, is just one facet of the student's learning experience. The non-academic aspect of student learning is formally addressed through career education, guidance counseling, sporting activities and coaching provisions, sponsorship of development and leadership programs, and other co-curricular activities. It is tempting to relegate objectives for effective learning to these activities and deny having any responsibility for this aspect of learning in our lecture rooms. But promotion of effective as well as cognitive learning is vital to students' educational experience, their readiness for the world of work, and their all-round development, and is the responsibility of all faculty members. Character building, attitude, and value formation are cultivated in each interaction with students. The influence of this interaction can be positive or negative. It is the extent to which our students are assisted in achieving both cognitive and affective objectives through formal and non-formal processes that both deep and broad learning are truly fostered. The provision of this Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning is a reflection of the value which UWI has placed on enhancing teaching and fostering deep learning. As the center enters its next decade, many challenges present themselves, and it is clear that student learning has to be both deep and wide. UNESCO stresses that today's graduates are expected to demonstrate attributes which encompass personal and intellectual abilities and which go further than those usually detailed in an academic or vocational program. While acknowledging the fostering of students' learning skills as central, the importance of learning to learn, understanding oneself, being able to manage transitions and deal with numerous and complex life choices are all emphasized. Competence in the acquisition and use of knowledge and in the demonstration of analytical, critical, and evaluative skills is critical. The use of technology and its applications must be explored, understood, and fully utilized in order to optimize deep learning. Acceptance of and coping with these challenges demand that students' learning be deep and broad, extended beyond subject matter competence to include tools for living. Graduates must have developed the ability to overcome the apprehension associated with entering a new environment and be able to cope with situations which may place them at risk intellectually and socially. This can be achieved if they develop and engage in the mental skills employed in deep learning and acquire self-esteem and excitement about satisfying curiosity, which commits them to an exploration of their learning potential and the use of creative ways of examining issues and solving problems. Understanding and implementing the scholarship of teaching and fostering deep as well as broad learning in its many facets is vital at this time. I wish the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning the very best as it rises to the challenge. God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just heard an excellent presentation. I believe, Dr. Chisholm, I hope that this was taped. I believe that this is a presentation which every UWI academic and administrator should hear, and probably more than once. Professor Levine, I am really happy that I was here to hear your presentation. It is really excellent. I'm trying to catch my breath. I'm so thankful. Thank you. I think we have a presentation for you.
Prof, I haven't met you officially yet, but I'd like to dedicate this song to you.
It must have been cold out in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. You always walked a step behind. So I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. A beautiful face without a name, a beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero and everything I would like to be? I can fly higher than an eagle, for you are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed for so long, but I've had it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth, that we would be nothing without you. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? You're everything I would like to be. No, seriously. I can fly higher than an eagle. For you are the wind beneath our wings. Did I ever tell you you're my hero? And everything I can hope and dream to be. And I can fly higher than an eagle. For you are the wind beneath my wings. You are the wind beneath my wings. You are the wind beneath my wings.
Thank you for that excellent rendition, Vanessa. Excellence is certainly what the UWI is all about. What an excellent presentation, followed by excellent singing. We are going to have the presentation of the awards at this point in time. I'm going to invite Dr. Chisholm along with Ms. Peterkin to make the presentations. Dr. Chisholm.
Thank you very much, Professor MacDonald. We apologize for the absence of our registrar, who we're expected to be here to hand out the awards this evening. Ms. Peterkin from the CETL will deputize. As we celebrate 20 years, there are so many persons who have served the IDU, or now the CETL, in so many ways over the last 20 years. Earlier on, I indicated that we have been looking at the historical records of the university to ensure that the significant contributors have been named and would have been properly rewarded. And I cannot tell you for sure that I got it right, so I beg your forgiveness if I've left out anyone, and certainly will make amends soon and not in the by and by. Thanks to the Records Office, Mr. James and Dr. Griffin and Mr. Aarons from the University Archives, who have assisted us in finding some of the records we wanted. We're still looking for some. But this evening, I beg your pardon, we would like to present these 14 persons to you as individuals who have contributed meaningfully to the establishment, growth, and development of the IDU, now CETL. Dr. Beryl Allen, of course, our founding coordinator, and someone who has had a lot of influence on my own life. She might not have known that when I did her adult education class some years ago in the School of Education that I would take over from her. Perhaps she would have taught me better. But she taught me well, and I did very well in adult education until I changed my thinking about what I wanted to do for my doctoral studies and incorporated adult education in my program. Dr. Beryl Allen was the founding director, coordinator rather, of the IDU and now the CETL, and this evening we want to celebrate her, we want to honor her, and I'm going to ask Ms. Peter King to present an award to Dr. Allen. Ms. Bogle, Ms. Mita Bogle, has been with the IDU from its inception. She has been one of those outstanding presenters, faculty developers, workshop facilitators. I always repeat in workshops when we come to do objectives that Ms. Bogle says the use of the word understanding in writing objectives is not to be done, because understanding is a big blanket. I got that from her. And today, Ms. Bogle, we want to thank you for the work you have done over the years for the IDU, for the university community. Today we celebrate your achievement. We honor you for your contribution. Professor Brandy indicated that he would not be here, but he had also indicated that his daughter would be here. Is she here? But Professor Brandy has contributed immensely, and we also celebrate him and honor him this evening. She's not here. We move on to Professor Kathleen Cord, who is one of the medical educators who has really given a lot to the work of the IDU. I always say of her that she's our resident expert in multiple choice question item writing, because when you sit at her feet and have her teach you how to write multiple choice questions, you leave that experience feeling that you can do it. Thank you very much, Professor Cord, for all that you have done. She facilitates workshops in other areas, in, for instance, teaching the lesson. For years, she did that at our annual teaching skills workshops. And even now, we still call on her to facilitate workshops in multiple choice writing. Professor Cord. Mrs. Verna George has been a long-standing member of the UWI Guardian Life Premium Teaching Award, representing the library. But she has assisted us in so many ways at the IDU, always offering constructive criticisms and wonderful suggestions. Some of them we have implemented, and others we are still to implement. We're very happy to see Mrs. George this evening. We welcome her again, and we celebrate her work here tonight, and we honor her in this fashion. Mrs. George. Mrs. Valerie Hardware. When I joined the IDU, I was told of Mrs. Hardware's outstanding work in faculty development at the IDU. I did not actually get a chance to meet her before tonight, but I've always been told of her outstanding work. I was happy to meet her tonight, and her work really goes before her. We thank you, Mrs. Hardware, and we honor you tonight. Dr. Michelle Kennedy has bring a lot of vigor and vitality, vigor and vitality to the life of the IDU, someone who is very, very interested in active and interactive teaching. And from time to time, she facilitates workshops. She does all kinds of things at the IDU, really. I can call on her, and if she's available, she will certainly try to help us at the IDU. And it's very important that we recognize that these persons serve as volunteers. That's important. Dr. Michelle Kennedy, continues to serve as one of our erstwhile volunteers, facilitating workshops, serving in various ways in the continued development of the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. We honor you this evening, Michelle. Professor Elsa Leorini was deputy principal, was a very strong supporter of the work of the IDU. And history will record that she was very supportive in getting resources for the development of the IDU, in ensuring that the director or the coordinator of the IDU was properly trained so that she in turn could assist in the development of other faculty members. Professor Leorini, we thank you for your services. We honor you this evening and pray God's blessings on your continued work. Dr. Anthony Mullins is another of the medical educators. He sends his apologies, but we want to recognize his outstanding work. We honor him. We are very grateful for the service he provided. Dr. Mary Newman, who has also brought a lot of vim, vigor, and vitality to the work of the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. Just a few days ago, we facilitated a workshop together for the Norman Manley Law School, and what a wonderful experience it was working with Merit. And I believe we will continue to work together. Well, I don't think she has a choice. But she's just one of those excellent faculty members that we can call on, and she will not say no. Thank you, Merit, for all your good work, and we look forward to working with you. Professor Omkar Parshad has also had a wonderful influence on the IDU, serving in various ways. If you note the comments we make about him as patron and supporter of the IDU and the one-time editor of the IDU's publication, Giraffe News, or newsletter. He's not here, but we would like to honor his work and celebrate his achievement. Mr. Joseph Pereira, who I was honored to serve under, He was deputy principal when I took over, and I think interviewed me for the job as well. So thank you for giving me the job. But that's not why we called you here this evening. It is because over the years you have demonstrated an interest in the work of the IDU. You are constantly present. And one of the things that must be said is that you created the space and the framework to empower, to enable, equip, and empower we, the actual professionals at the IDU, to do our work. We could look to you for guidance, and you would be behind us all the way. Thank you for your work. We congratulate you and honor you. Mrs. Rodina Reed, a very special person to us at the IDU, because at all hours of the day we can call upon Rodina. Rodina, what do you think about so and so? Rodina, what do you think we should do? How should we go about that? And she has been a mentor for me in many ways, because I call on her from time to time, or I ask Miss Peter King to call her and get her advice. What is the university policy on X, Y, and Z? And she is always willing to offer her support, to give me her advice, to guide me appropriately. She has served on the UWI Guardian Life Premium Teaching Award and Lecture Committee for many years, and has really made her mark on the IDU. We celebrate you, Mrs. Reed. We thank you for the services. We honor you this evening. Miss Patricia Valentine, another long-standing member of the UWI Guardian Life Premium Teaching Award, Lecture Planning Committee. And Patricia was always, again, available to us to guide us, especially in relation to communications and to protocol that oftentimes we did not know, or we did not know where to find the information. She was always willing to offer that kind of guidance and support. She did extremely valuable work in preparing the videos for our Guardian Life Award. We thank you for your services, Patricia, and we honor you this evening. Of course, we could not end the evening without honoring our corporate sponsor, in some ways, supporter, Guardian Life. You know of the outstanding work that Guardian Life is doing in this university, and they've promised to continue to be our partner, even as we think about the premium teaching lecture for October 2013. Mrs. Hibbert is here, and we're going to ask her to accept an award for Guardian Life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chisholm and Ms. Peter King. Congratulations to all the awardees, and let me add my thanks for your many years of service to the CETL. At this point in time, I will invite Dr. Allen to respond on behalf of the awardees. Dr. Allen.
Professor Archibald MacDonald, Deputy Principal and Chairman, Dr. Mervyn Morris, Dr. Mervyn Chisholm, I'm sorry, Mervyn, um, coordinator of the CELT, Mrs. Carol Hibbert, Vice President, Guardian Life Limited Employee Benefits, fellow awardees, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family. I consider it a signal honor and pleasure to be asked to respond on behalf of awardees on this memorable occasion when the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, formerly the Instructional Development Unit, is celebrating 20 years of survival in its focus on improvement of learning and teaching. We consider ourselves particularly privileged and fortunate to have been afforded the opportunity to contribute to and to be a part of this survival. The unit has had a place in changing the approach to learning and teaching at the university level. We have felt privileged to have pioneered this venture in the region served by the University of the West Indies. On behalf of my fellow awardees, I express appreciation for the recognition we are given at this time. Our involvement has helped to shape the programs of the unit, which have gained the support of the training team over the years. The programs have also inspired the administration in its very strong support for the efforts of the unit. We are especially grateful to the academic board for its foresight in choosing to join universities in the United Kingdom and Europe in their pioneering work in revolutionizing education by espousing the cause of a focus on student-centered approaches to teaching. We were particularly enthused by the high level of acceptance and participation by the faculties of medicine, pure and applied sciences, social sciences, and eventually the faculty of law. We have also had the delight of having participation from non-university entities, including persons from the early childhood end of the system. We have seen participants in the program move into being presenters in our annual workshops. All of this gives us pleasure, a sense of usefulness, and the desire to continue as part of the efforts in mind, even if we are not still physically active. The change of name from the IDU to the Center of Excellence for Teaching and Learning is a testimony to the unit's understanding of the needs of students and its commitment to being a servant or a contributor to needed solutions. As we express our appreciation, we also want to offer our thoughts and prayers for the continued success of the unit's efforts and for the positive influence of its impact on the enterprise we call education. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. We are now pretty close to the end. I invite Damien Facey, Mr. Facey, to give the vote of thanks.
Mr. Chairman, Professor Archibald McDonald, Deputy Principal, our distinguished guest speaker, Professor Elsa Leorini, Ms. Carol Hibbert, Vice President, Employee Benefits, Guardian Life, distinguished honorees, other distinguished guests, members of faculty, members of the professional and administrative staff, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Today is indeed a memorable milestone for the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning as we celebrate our 20th anniversary. Today we're recognize and awarded some persons who have played an integral part in the growth and success of the CETL. I'm honored and humbled to offer the vote of thanks today on behalf of the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. First of all, I'd like to thank the Almighty God for His grace and guidance, which have led us to this special occasion. Let us also salute all the awardees, for without their hard work and dedication, we would not be having this ceremony today. We applaud you. I must also mention our deep sense of appreciation for our special guest speaker, Professor Elsa Leorini, for her thought-provoking speech on enhancing teaching and fostering deep learning. We are indeed grateful to you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us today at this special occasion. Thanks to the Chairman, Professor Archibald McDonald, Deputy Principal of the UW Mona campus, for his welcome and opening remarks and ensuring the smooth flow of this evening event. Ms. Carl Hibbert, Vice President, Employee Benefits Administration, we thank you for participating in this ceremony. Once again, you have demonstrated that the partnership between UWI and Garden Life is alive and well, and we thank you for your continuous support. Dr. Mervyn Chisholm for giving the overview on the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, we thank you. Dr. Beryl Allen, thank you for giving the awardee response. We also like to thank the UWI Ponderidum Steel Orchestra for their musical interlude and Ms. Vanessa Clark for a musical item. We offer sincere thanks to all those who have made this event a success. The principal for his support, the Faculty of Medical Science for allowing us to use using their teaching and research complex. I'm sure we'd all agree that this is a fantastic venue for such a momentous occasion. The auxiliary staff, the technical team, and security staff, we thank you for your essential but often hidden work. And all those who have been involved in the organizing of this our 20th anniversary celebration. And finally, Maze Catering for the refreshment that we're about to enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I want to state clear that we're all most grateful for all who have participated in this function and making it a success. We thank you for being with us this evening. It has been a great pleasure to be with you all. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, all that is left is for me to thank you for your attendance and to invite you to join us in the courtyard outside for refreshments. Thank you so much.